Let's talk the club. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk the color. Woo!
Well, good evening, everybody. Hey, it's Cutler here on the Let's Talk the Cutler broadcast. It's already the 17th of February. The month is moving along, and so are we. Hey, listen, if this is your first time stopping by, tuning in, do me a favor. Please just slam on brakes and take a break, and just spend the next 1,800 seconds with me, because this channel is about motivation. It's about inspiration. It's about seeing what we can do to show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. It doesn't mean that today was a loss. It doesn't mean that today was a flop, but it means that we're being intentional about seeing what we can do to make sure that we show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. So I want to thank those of you who have been with me for the long haul, for the, you're in it to win it. I want to say thank you to those of you who have been with me for a while. And for those of you who are just joining the virtual book club family, who's just joining the Let's Talk the Cutler platform, of the Let's Talk the Cutler family, I'm ever so thankful. Do me a favor. Make sure you invite somebody. Tell them to come on, Let's Talk the Cutler, because what is that guy talking about over there? He's talking about how to handle life at its most intense moments. When I am overwhelmed, we've been talking about things. For example, for the past year or so, we spent some time walking through this book, Billboards to Better, 366 daily sources of motivation and inspiration along the highway of life. That is why you see a lot of people tuning in and they say, let's ride down the highway of life. Let's enlarge this caravan. Let's make sure that we're all getting to the space that's called better. But let's make sure that we're not getting there by ourselves. Let's be intentional about making sure that someone else joins the ride. And of course, it's not just about this platform, but it is about life. It is about making sure that as we're going to this space, as we're going to this place that's called better, we want to get there, but we don't want to get there by ourselves. Cutler, why do you say that? It is because life is challenging. Life comes with its own set of circumstances, its own set of situations that I heard someone say over this weekend, life can suck the life out of you. And so one of the things that we do, we try to get here on these Tuesday and Thursday nights, and it's about refreshing ourselves, renewing ourselves, revitalizing ourselves, and replenishing our energy, just refortifying us for the fight. It's like pulling over to a service station, as we used to say when I was growing up. We called them gas stations or service stations, but it's about pulling over and taking a break, and making sure that we service our cars, making sure that we check the tires, check the oil, check the engine, make sure that we have enough gas in the tank so that we can take off and go a little bit farther down the highway. That's what we do every Tuesday and Thursday. This is like a gas station. This is like a service station where we just pull over, and just for a few moments, this community of fellow passengers, this community of winners. That's what we are, this community of winners and victors and overcomers. We pause to re-strengthen each other. All right, so we invite you, come on, and do me a favor, jump on into the chat for just a moment. All right, jump into the chat, because we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about moving negativity out. It's about how do we prevent, to the extent that we can, how do we prevent ourselves from becoming overwhelmed? And then when we are overwhelmed, how can we utilize some of the things that are in our arsenal to help us handle those moments? Because sometimes we are overwhelmed before we ever know it. As we would say in the country, you look around and the next thing you know, you're overwhelmed. You look around and the next thing you know, you're in a situation that seems to be pulling all of your energy. You look around and the next thing you know, you feel like you are being consumed. So we are talking about how do we handle life at its most intense moments. And what a wonderful conversation we've been having. I have enjoyed some of the emails that you've sent me. I've enjoyed the follow-up comments. I've enjoyed the chat. So thank you all so much. I want to shout out the LTTC VIPs. Now, if you want to be an LTTC VIP on Tuesdays and Thursdays, here's what you do. make sure you're one of the first 3 people to hop into the chat room. All right, let me shout out the LTTC VIPs for this evening. Ray Della Lewis, my friend, it's good to see you. How have you been? Ray Della says, hi all. Okay, let's see. Then there's Annie Cutler who says, let's ride. I told y'all it's about going down this highway of life, making sure that we're not doing this by ourselves. And of course, then rounding out the LTTC VIPs for the evening, it is our good friend McDina who says, good evening. I love that profile picture. Looks like you're just walking along the shore. So good evening to everybody. Good evening to so many of you, to Linda, to MV, all of you. It is good to see you. You all know we left off our conversation. Do y'all remember the last time I was here? I had the filters and I had the water and the oil and all of that. So I want to pick up with page 59. We're reading. This is my 6th book. This is book number 6. It's not like I have 75 books, but I always have to pause because I can't. Sometimes I forget the order. But this is book number 6. If you'd like to get this book, listen, let me just say this. It is no pressure. It is no stress. This is not one of those, I'm up here because I want people to go and buy the book. Those of you who have been with me for a while know that is not the case, because I've actually sent the book to some people. But if you want to get the book so that you can join the conversation, then just run on over to Amazon.com, pick it up. It's available in hardback. It's available in soft cover. It's available electronically as well. You don't need the book to join the conversation. It helps you so that we can read along together. So we're going to pick up with our reading on page 59, because the last time we chatted about, striking a balance. It was about balancing and filtering. And we said, one of the things that we concluded at the end of our last conversation, that sometimes when what we try to balance in our lives, we realize that before we can balance some of these things, what we need to do before we strike a balance is to get rid of some of the junk, because we talked about this whole notion of garbage in and garbage out. So I want to pick up this evening with, before we get to balancing, I want to pick up with, or as we're doing this balancing, I want to talk about moving negativity out. So I kept one of my props, you all. I kept one of the props that I had with me from our last conversation. Listen, you saw this bottle with the water and oil. So I'm going to be reading from page 59. 59 says, yes, 59 says we're purging. 59 says, I am convinced that just as water and oil cannot mix, there are other things that cannot occupy the same space. Darkness and light can and cannot, will and will not, love and hate, peace and chaos, joy and discouragement. Some things simply cannot coexist. So I have learned that in order for me to have a balanced life, it is imperative that I move negativity out. I want to pause there, you all, for just a moment. I wrote it in active voice. It says, it is imperative that I move negativity out. I could have written, it is important that negativity is moved out, but that's passive, because that means that I don't take the responsibility of doing it myself. Because if it is imperative that negativity is moved out, who's going to move it out? Who takes the responsibility for that? Who is accountable for making sure that we rid ourselves of negativity? No. So that is why I wrote, it is imperative that I move negativity out. And so if we want to make sure to some extent that we are not overwhelmed by the negative things, then we have to play a part. We have to play a part in our own thank you. As our friend, fellow passenger Angie says tonight, we have to play a part. We have to be an active participant in our own purging. So it's not that the negativity must move out. I must move it out. You must move it out. We must move the negativity out of our lives. So then, this is accomplished by heeding the scriptural advice in Ephesians 6, where we are told to put on the whole armor. This reference is not about guarding your physical body, but the fiery darts that the enemy throws to attack our heart and our mind. And I will tell you all this, as I was reading before I came on this evening, before the broadcast started, I was thinking, Cutler, sometimes you don't want to be, can I be honest? May I be honest? I was thinking, you don't want to be overly religious is the word that I was thinking. But of course, you all know I have to be true to myself, because the way that I overcome, the way that I handle those overwhelming moments, a lot of it is based on my faith. And this book really is about it's a message of hope and inspiration and motivation. But for me, the crux of that is my faith, and that is what I'm sharing with you. And so, for people who are going to join, and for people who catch the replay, who may not necessarily have the same faith that I have, I certainly offer you, I extend to you the possibility of just considering the way that I believe. Um, I welcome everyone. I welcome everyone to this channel. I welcome everyone to this platform. And I never want us to shun anyone who may not necessarily have the same faith that we have. But what I want to do is offer people the opportunity to consider maybe there's something up with that guy's faith. And so that is the perspective from which I speak. I offer it to you. I certainly don't shove it down your throat, but I share with you what has worked for me. I share with you what has worked for me. And so every morning, I'm back to the book. Every morning when we wake up, we've got to make a conscious choice to move negativity out. We have to be intentional about moving negativity out by rebuking everything. This is the language. And it's powerful and a strong language for me. We've got to be intentional about rebuking everything that exalts itself against the knowledge of God and the will. Here we go, the will of God for our lives. So because the Creator has a will for your life, the Creator has a destiny designed for you, the Creator has purpose that is proposed for your life, we have to be very intentional about rebuking everything and reproving and speaking against everything that comes against the will of the Creator, the will of God for your life. One of the things that I learned, you all, one of the things that I have to share with you is that I will, and I share this, I offer this to you all. I don't play with my future. I don't play with my peace. I don't play with my peace of mind. I don't play with my ability to operate in harmony. I just don't do that. Neither do I do that with the people who are close to me, the people who are in my life. I don't allow negative words to be spoken over people's lives. Now, I just don't do that. I don't allow it. I don't do it over my own life. I wouldn't do it over your life, and I don't do it over the lives of anybody else who is a part of me, who's a part of my space, who are part of my circle. I know sometimes it shocks people when they say something negative. The first thing that would come out of my mouth is I speak death to those words. Because we have to know that the power of life and death resides, it lies in our tongues, you all. And so before I allow someone to speak negativity over themselves or even over me, I will say to them, and it shocks people. It has shocked people before. As soon as they say something, oh, you know, there ain't gonna be nobody. And the first thing that comes out of my mouth is I speak death to those words. Because before your words take root and give life and has a negative impact on their lives, I speak death to those words. That is why for so many weeks, so many times you all joined me and you heard me when I talked about Word Guard. And during Word Guard, I said, let's speak positive words over the lives of people who are close to us. Positive words over people whose lives are connected to us, and even over our own lives. Let's speak words of peace and promise and prosperity and hope. So over each other's lives, and even in your life, learn to speak positive words. And if you hear something come out of somebody's mouth that is negative, then you please be deputized enough to say, no, you know what? I speak death to those words. People will sometimes say to me jokingly, and sometimes not so jokingly, oh, I'm going to try this, but I don't think it's going to work. And immediately I will say, I speak death to those words. Don't play with your future. Don't play with the future of your children. Don't play with the future of those who you have influence over. And don't allow other people to do it. And don't allow them to do it to themselves. So please, if you want to take anything from our conversation this evening, take that. Take the notion that you can speak death to people's words as soon as they come out of their mouths. Oh, you don't think you're going to be victorious? You don't think you're going to succeed? You don't I speak death to that. I don't think I'm going to, I speak death to that. Ain't no need of me trying, I speak death to that. Why should I even, I speak death to that. I speak death to everything that does not line up with God's will for my life. I do. Because let me go on and read. I promise you I'll come back to that. But if you want to take a piece from this conversation tonight, learn to say out of your mouth when you hear something that is negative. Learn how to rebuke and reprove and cut off at the root whatever comes out of the mouth of other people and sometimes your own mouth. Learn how to cut off those things by speaking out orally, verbally saying, I speak death to those words. And sometimes you've got to say, I speak death to those thoughts that are in my mind. I don't think I'm going to make it. I speak death to those thoughts. I got to keep on going. But I'm sharing with you all what has worked for me, because we have enough people speaking negativity over our lives. He ain't gonna be nothing. She ain't never gonna be nobody. Learn to speak death. And sometimes when people they say they're joking, but those words have power. And you've got to learn to kill those words at the root. I'm so serious about that. Because I remember in my own life, you all know it's about being transparent here, but I remember in my own life, there were people who spoke negativity over my life. And they look now and they want to forget some of the words and some of the things that they said, but they spoke negativity over my life. He ain't never gonna be nothing. And I didn't know at the time, I did not know at the time the principle of speaking death to the words that came out of other people's lives. But one of the things that I did know was that I served a God who answered prayer. And I would pray, God, please don't let their words come true. You have the ability to order my footsteps. People, you all, when my parents divorced and my mother was left to raise 3 sons by her own, there were people who said, I wonder how they're going to turn out. I wonder if she's going to be able to do anything with them. They would say things like that, and it wasn't funny, it wasn't cute, it wasn't lighthearted, but things like that were damaging. And so we have to learn how to speak death to those words. And so then years later, when those same 3 boys raised by this mother who had been divorced, years later, one of them went on to be a professor and a lawyer. Another went on to serve in the U.S. Army, holds advanced degrees, and is an inspector for the federal government. Another, in his career, has owned his own business and has worked for the Secret Service. Some of these same people now probably have egg on their face. But we've got to learn how to speak death to the words that are negative. All right? So every time, I just wanted to share that with you all so that you know I am not offering this from the space of a writer who knows nothing about this. I've lived this. And so I speak to you from a place of sincerity that says words have power. And you can take back the power over those words. Let me keep on reading. Every time God's word tells me I can, whenever God's word tells me I can, I rebuke everything and everybody that says I can't. Every time God's plan tells me that I will, I rebuke everything and everybody that tells me I won't. Every time God's word tells me what, who, and whose I am, I rebuke everything and everybody who tries to focus on what I am not. I just wrote these down. You all see this? Look, get you a Post-it and learn how to post these things. Sometimes Post-its, I'm sorry if it's a reflection, but there we go. Learn how to post these things. I post affirmations around my house all the time. I will. I am. And not only will and I am, but I can. Life and death. You're right, High Vibe. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And so your life is worth speaking positivity over. Your children's life, your friends' life, your family's life are worth speaking positivity over. And I've learned to do that. I've learned to do that. May I talk about rebuking for just a moment? And it's not that you mean anybody harm when you rebuke them. You don't mean them any harm, but what you mean is yourself some good. And so you said, you don't get a chance to use those words over my life. You don't get a chance to use those words over the lives of people for whom I'm a good steward. You don't get to do that. And so I empower us this evening not to sit idly by while other people's lives are affected by negative words. Let's not stand idly by. Let's learn how to rebuke words. Let's learn how to stand in agreement with the divine will that's attached to our lives. Let's learn how to live in a space where we speak negativity out. We move negativity out with the negative and in with the positive. Because the positive reminds me, that I am the redeemed of the Lord. I can do all things through Christ. I am blessed and highly favored. I am the seed of righteousness. I am the salt of the earth. I am the light of the world, and I shall live and not die. That is what positivity reminds me of. A healthy, positive outlook helps me to remember that although I've made mistakes, the mistakes don't make me. It's a reality dose. Mistakes don't make me. They don't define who I am, and they don't define who I will be. So each day, you all, let's make an effort to move negativity out. Negative what, Cutler? Negative conversations, negative posting on social media, negative phone calls, negative attitudes, negative responses to people and situations, negative personas and personalities, negative perspectives about negativity. All of that. Let's make an effort every day to move negativity out. And sometimes people are negative just because they don't know how to be positive. So you go around your house and start posting things like, I will. Just post, I will. I wish I could send all of you multicolored Post-its, and I can. And I am. Just post these things around. Because it's a visual reminder that you have the power to move negativity out of your life. And it is a visual reminder to other people that before you come to me with anything that does not speak life, anything that comes to circumnavigate me from finding purpose and destiny, I cut it off at the root. Let's face it. Sometimes we know when we're being negative. Let's take the time to think. Let's take the time to think before we act or speak. Consider what your actions will say. Especially if you live with negative people. I told you, life will suck the life out of you. And if you live with negative people whose attitudes and whose outlook is not as healthy and as positive as yours, it will slowly suck the energy and the life out of you day by day, little by little. And I told you, it's just like putting on that mask that stays dirty and filthy, and we have not changed the filter, and we get so used to breathing in those toxins and pollutants until slowly the next thing you realize that you've become a negative person. So you have to be intentional about saying, no, no. I speak death to everything. I speak death to everything that speaks against God's will for my life. I speak death to everything that comes to prevent me from being victorious. I speak death to everything that comes to prevent me from being successful. I speak death to everything that comes to prevent me from accomplishing my goals. I speak death to everything that comes to prevent me from realizing the hope that I have. I speak death to everything that comes to prevent me from finding a space of peace. I speak death to everything that comes to prevent me from getting to the space in this place that is called better. I speak death to everything that comes to distract me from the destiny that calls my name. Learn how to do that. And when you start saying stuff like that, you show people how to respond to you. Sometimes, I told you, sometimes we are overwhelmed because people will overwhelm you. But when you learn how to handle them and show them how to handle you, and you just got to say things like, you don't get to talk to me like that. You don't get to do that. Not over here. I'm on my way to a space that's called better, and your words are not helping me. My peace is too important. My future is too important for that. So I have to be intentional about moving negativity out of my life. If it doesn't line up for my divine will, it's negative, and I speak death to it. I'm of the opinion, maybe this is where I need to end. I am of the opinion that individuals who speak without considering the impact of their words are people who talk too much and think too little. May I say that again? It's on page. Somebody tell me what page is this on? I need to make sure that I know these pages. It's on page 59. It's right here on page 59. I am of the opinion that individuals who speak without considering the impact of their words are people who talk too much and think too little. Some people, the author says, some people, I dare say, have nasty spirits and are addicted to being nasty. They are rude, they're caustic, they are abrasive, they are self-centered, they are disrespectful, inconsiderate, egotistical, self-aggrandizing, discourteous, and they know it. Some people know they are all of that, you all, and they know it. They're nasty to strangers, they're nasty to friends, they're nasty to co-workers, they're nasty to fellow church members, they're nasty to relatives, and even nasty to their animals. I know y'all, I know, right. You all are saying it. I'm looking at exactly what you all are saying. Tracy, listen, you're not too late. I hope what you cooked is delicious, but you're not too late. You all, lots of people, they speak before they think. And a lot of them, they know they are negative. They talk, Yvonne, I'm telling you, they talk too much and they think too little. And some people are nasty and know it. They're nasty to everybody, including the animals. Y'all, I know people, I've been to some people's houses growing up, and they were nasty to everybody. Just horrible, nasty attitudes. Everything. They were nasty to the pets. For some of them, I said, you know what? If I were your pet, I'd run away. I would run away and never come back. Anytime, you always fussing with the fish, you fussing with the dogs, you fussing with the cat, you fussing with the birds. You're just a nasty person. If I was some of those pets, I'm telling you, I would run away and never come back. Some folk nasty and they know it. I got to get out of here. They enjoy being smart mouth and sharp tongue. It's in the book, y'all. I wrote it. I'm not even trying to cover this up. It's in the book. I wrote it. Some people, they enjoy being smart mouth, sharp tongue, and duplicitous, talking out of both sides of their mouth. That's all duplicitous means. Think like a duplicate to this side and that side duplicate. They are duplicitous. Then there are individuals who try to be a little less obvious and not so overt with their nastiness. They sometimes like to be what we call in the South nice nasty. I wrote this in the book, you all. But let us all do the world and the kingdom of God a favor today. Let us vow. I want to end on a positive note. Let us vow to be ambassadors of peace and positivity. Let us vow to be ambassadors of peace and positivity. Right, MV, sometimes they say things like they're telling it like it is, but what they forget is the impact that their words will have on other people. And they're telling it like it is from their perspective. And so let us vow to be ambassadors of peace and positivity. Remember this, you all. No matter how close they look alike, oil and water cannot occupy the same space. They are in this bottle, and even though they're in this bottle, they don't occupy the same space. Even if you put them, as I wrote, even if you put them in the same container and shake it up, you can see, you all see this, the oil separating itself from the water. As it is in this example, so it is in our lives. If you rid yourself of one thing, you make room for something else. Let's vow to evict and move negativity out every day. Rome wasn't built in a day. We don't find a space of peace and a space of better every day, but it's done little by little. That's why we have to be intentional about doing this every day. That's why I don't mind meeting these Tuesdays and Thursdays, to remind us that we have the power to do it. Making us accountable to each other for doing it. Making sure that as we are on this space, on our way to this place and this space that is called better, that little by little we are reminded, no, I need to do something today that makes me a little bit better and ready for tomorrow. Because as you move negativity out every day, you have more room for fruitful, positive, productive, wholesome, healthy, and may I say holy outcomes that are less inclined to knock the wind out of you and leave you overwhelmed. Listen, you all, the next time we chat, we're going to talk about minding your P's and Q's. So we're still reading this chapter. I know we're reading. It seems like we're reading this very slowly. And I said to myself, Cutler, you only progress about 2 pages or 3 pages each time we chat. But it is important to me because, y'all, I'm sharing this from my heart. I've learned how to handle life at its most intense moments. And while I've learned, I understand that there's some moments that are yet waiting right around the corner. And so I need these reminders. And I appreciate this community. If you haven't done so, please go ahead and do a thumbs up on this conversation. Please, at some point, invite other people to come and chat with us. Tell them, come on and let's talk to Cutler. The guy's just offering us a space where we can talk about, how can I be a little bit better? That's all. Just a little inspiration, a little bit of motivation, challenging us sometimes to step up to the plate and be responsible for our own achievement. But we do it collectively, you all. May I say, let's continue to build community. Let's continue. Listen, let's keep building community and let's keep maintaining connectivity. You all stay safe, stay sane, keep your heads up. More importantly, keep your hopes up. Know this, that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. I'll see you all right here next Tuesday. Good night, everybody. Linda, Martin, it's always good to see you. All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Sylvia, good night.